going on, ladies and gentlemen? Knights here, back with some Mordhau. I hope you guys are all doing really well, and I really appreciate your support on my channel. It means a lot to me, and I look forward to making an abundance of Mordhau content in the future. So that being said, let's go ahead and talk about the Falchion. It doesn't really have too many shortcomings aside from its weapon length, no pun intended there. You can even take that and find a silver lining in it, because somewhere around patch 14 or so, I don't know if you guys remember, but they added a strike lunge on shorter weapons, and as the weapons get larger, they exponentially get less and less lunge, so they get a lunge deduction if they are larger. What this does for the shorter weapons is it allows them to kind of compete from longer ranges, because if you could imagine being in a 1v2 against a spear player and a halberd player, and you have a Falchion, they can kind of just like backpedal, and basically when it's their turn to stab, they walk forward and stab, and when it's their turn to block, they just backpedal. So it kind of forces you as a short weapon player to be a facehugger, and you still kind of do have to be a facehugger if you are using a short weapon. But this did kind of alleviate that issue in a sense that you now can switch targets faster, and you can also do more unpredictable target switches. So I'll be doing an episode talking about 1vx with Kongo very soon. I'm not going to get too deeply into the nature of 1vx with you guys, but I just want to state that the Falchion is a pretty solid 1vx weapon, mainly because of its ability to target switch extremely fast, and as I said, unpredictably. And if you're good at kind of deciding not to be too predictable with your target switches, meaning patterns of riposting into certain targets in a very unique rotation or a very unique pattern, that will enable you to get in these really fast excels that are insurmountable. So your goal when using an extra large weapon in 1vx is to pull off a drag or excel that is unpredictable to all of your opponents collectively, and you would hope that you're going to be able to drag right through all of their parries and they're going to mistime it collectively. Now again, in the real world, and if your opponents have more than a few brain cells, that's not going to happen, and it can be quite frustrating with a large weapon. So small weapon 1vx is a lot more about dodging and using footwork that cause your opponents to deal damage to each other. So let's say I'm just in a simple 1v2. If I can make sure that there's a target in front of me that's in between me and the person winding up, that means when they release, they're going to have to cleave through their own teammate in order to hit me. Probably 20% of the damage of crowd horde 1vxing comes from each other. By being able to parry multiple strikes at once, you're able to essentially cause a massive amount of team damage, and it can frustrate the enemy team and work in your favor as well. And since you have Bloodlust in this build that I've put together for this video, it will essentially just make these 1vx's go on for absurd amounts of time and can really cause some havoc amongst your opponents. Its strongest suits are definitely its excel. Although it is draggable, the timing mix-up between the fastest excel possible and the slowest drag possible is almost parryable if the player just reads you even the slightest amount. People will parry a lot of your swings no matter how much timing manipulation you try to employ in your ability to throw off your target and get them to mistime their parry. And again, people will mistime their parries due to the nature of human inaccuracies and all that. One piece of advice is I wouldn't hyperextend yourself to try to pull off a big drag, because that's not really what the Falchion's for. The Falchion's a very good excel weapon, and if you're kind of frustrated and you don't want to just get into this riposting back and forth with somebody, you can try just a solid parry and then try to like mix in a drag to throw off their timing. You definitely want to mix things up if you can see it's not working with your current opponent. It's basically like an arming sword crossed with an axe. Generally speaking, against level 2 armored targets, if you can get in a headshot, most of the time it'll be 2 to 3 hits. If you get really unlucky, sometimes it'll be 4 if you're mixing in too many stabs. Understand that the strike damage figure is definitely the strong suit. So that's what's really nice, is that its excels are where it thrives along with its strike damage, but the stab damage and the drags exist, right? They're not just like this figure that's embarrassingly low, like a stab from a cleaver, which is essentially nothing. So it's still a force to be reckoned with, In my opinion, the Falchion is almost like a replacement to the Cleaver. You don't have to sacrifice too many points. It's just 2 more points in a Cleaver, and it's better than the Cleaver ever was. So I really strongly suggest you give it a look. And for those of you that love scavenger builds that run like Bloodlust and Cleaver, or even no weapon, to me this build kind of just completely negates your typical scavenger build due to the fact that you can run 2-3-2 or 3-3-1 and still have a Falchion with Bloodlust and a Bandage, or if you don't like bandages you can run 3-3-2 and Bloodlust and pick up the first OP weapon on the ground you find. And that's the beautiful thing as well, is that you can throw it as soon as you pick up this Vihander, for example. It also does quite a bit of damage when thrown and doesn't have a whole lot of trajectory drop. So meaning the arc of your throw is not too susceptible to gravity, which is quite nice. It makes throwing it a lot easier. And you can also just like win 1v1s that are going on too long. If you kind of back up and they're out of stam and you're out of stam and you're both 1 HP, you can just throw your Falchion at them. If you have a secondary, obviously take risks at your own discretion, but definitely a nice mix-up to being able to throw a weapon and have it do a good chunk of damage as well. So one thing to watch out for is that it's kind of a weapon that you utilize it for its speed and tempo matching people, and this requires you to feint quite a bit and also do quite a few feint to parries, both versions of feint to parries. If you don't know what that is, watch our masterclass series. The requirement for it to feint to parry, and deal with 1vx is quite stamina draining. It's kind of a higher risk, higher reward weapon. It's still a wonderful weapon. It's very well rounded. It's very fun to use. It frees up a lot of creativity. And those scavenger builds, I think, are one of the best ways for you to get good at Mordhau. If you're new to the game, I think this Falchion build, and whichever armor orientation you want to load it out in, but if you can stack Bloodlust and just pick up any weapon on the ground that you find, and get used to the Falchion, but also just like, you know, one life you'll pick up a War Axe and, you know, figure out a little bit more about the War Axe timing, and next life you'll pick up a Spear and start to learn more about Spear timing. So it's really beneficial for those that are trying to become melee gods and become more well-rounded at the game and not just be a one-trick pony. So yeah guys, I really hope you enjoyed the gameplay. I apologize for not coming out with as much content as I should. I've been taking a small break, but I wanted to let you know I'm back playing Mordhau on just about a daily basis, making these videos for you guys. And as for the state of the game, I'm having a lot of fun. The jump kicks are kind of funny. The riposte clashes seem a lot more consistent now, and it favors the person in the riposte. At least you can know with certainty now if you're a secondary target going for an XV1 windup on somebody and you see they already are in their riposte. It might be a good time to parry instead of go for that strike on them, unless you can get around their swing. So yeah, I think that saved the game, quite frankly. Their implementation of a map rotation and just switching spawns more really freshened up the game more than I was expecting. And their communication about this new mode coming out, and there's quite a few more secrets that many of us don't know about yet. There's definitely a lot to come in the near future, guys. So thanks for checking out the video. I really appreciate you guys all dropping by. And if you enjoyed the video, don't forget to show your support. And that's going to be it for today. Thanks again, guys, and I will catch you very soon with some more Mordhau content.